last night that I did not see them.
That'd be fun, though.
I just live on a hill, so I know hills. Good sledding.
Pavilion was.
I asked them 10 million times because I was like, listen, like we're all coming early for you, so make sure they're like, yes, we'll be there. I'm like, okay, they're not. I maybe they're on my time. I was early.
Oh.
They got 5 minutes.
Do everything else.
Yeah.
Oh, gee.
We're having a lot of issues getting them connected to the servers. The thumbprint will be later because we'll have to probably do a resolution or an ordinance for that, I'm sure. You usually do for biometric. Just people get real finicky about
I was telling her when I went
thumbprints and all that.
earlier. And I said,
Did you get that? Did you get that at the flea market? I saw them.
because we researched the paper and found it was.
No, I've already seen one. Somebody else I knew had one. That's why I knew you got it there because I saw them there. Someone bought one.
Look how many times it says different languages. See this? We're gonna get ourselves some team flyers. No work. After the basketball season, BC Media will extend media services to include broader initiatives in the city of Logansport. The season lasts till July.
Yeah, I'm not for that either.
Look, I would have went to notes on there. No. Well, I feel bad for reading those.
Right.
So like, Eli jumped in because he didn't have time. Hi, Frank.
Added that to the. Sorry.
They had problems with that link. Can I email you again?
Yeah, I have my email.
Your sticks are still on the board.
Wednesday at 10, if that work for you. That's when Ryan said we meet us there.
Sure.
You want
Unless he changes.
Gonna work?
Unless he changes it. He said he called me to make sure he'd be there, but he said 10 o'clock at the west end.
Since he doesn't know how to spell it. Did you see all the trash bits we got at Waterworks this week? We got 5 trash bits.
I haven't looked at that one.
see it?
Yeah, I didn't see the amounts.
Yeah, well, I just took notes as I was watching the meeting, because what some people
They
do,
did.
yeah, but you know, number one, it's the lowest bid. Well, no, it probably is the lowest bid, I probably don't have good math on this, but. So you'd be paying.
I didn't get that till, well, they sent it last night, and I didn't see it till today.
What is it? I haven't read
It's,
it.
you look like an organized attorney to me.
Yeah, I mean, you should have seen my counter.
This is basically,
Hello.
it was 6 pages long, but this is
We're just getting ready to.
Erin, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for being able to do this virtually. I know it's a bit different, but we had a lot of different schedules to accommodate, along with like athletics and academics. So we really appreciate your time. Before we get started, does anyone have any questions, or should we just jump right in?
Well, I'll just explain really quick. This is the team with Rose Holman that did the Riverside area, so they were looking at on the banks. They kind of looked at the whole site and what our plan was and what we were talking about on the site. And then from there, they kind of picked out the specific projects that they wanted to work on and that met their expertise. And so they're here presenting what they came up with from there. So I will turn it over to you guys to, unless you guys have any questions.
I was just hoping each one of us would kind of tell us their names. I
Okay.
see them up there, but
Yep.
if they tell us their names and what they're studying in school and.
Go for it, Becky. You start.
Yeah, so that's actually the second slide of our presentation.
Oh,
So-
well, sorry, I'll go to slide 1 then.
You're reading our mind. Alright, well, let's get into it. Alright. Can you guys see us?
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay, Lexi, I'll hand it over to you.
Cool, let's go ahead and get started. So, again, we'll introduce ourselves in a minute, but we are students from Rose Holman. We're all studying civil engineering. So this is our senior design project, and we're working on the riverfront redevelopment. Before we get started, a little bit about us. My name is Lexi Crawford. I work on the structural design.
I'm Peter Rogers. I work on the geotechnical design.
I'm Joseph Peter, and I worked on the water resources design.
I'm Becky Jones, and I work on the geotechnical design.
I'm Clint Brown. I work on the site development and transportation design.
Very good, thank you.
So a little bit about just an overview of our project. So we were tasked with Riverside Park. We aim to stabilize the banks of the Eel River, construct a boardwalk to connect all possible land, and then we also worked on creating a new trail layout, adding some recreational spaces, adding more parking spots, and then just overall stormwater management site layout. So we had some project goals and objectives that we developed throughout our senior design project. The first was to stabilize the river to prevent erosion and protect soil and water health. The second was to create design an aesthetic and accessible boardwalk to draw people to the riverfront and make a nice social space. Going along with that, we wanted to retrofit the entire park to make it a social, cohesive space, kind of like this client vision we were provided. And then we also worked to use local materials and labor to boost the Logansport economy and make it more cost effective.
So now look at the existing site and some of the parts that we worked on. First, we have the brownfield that's currently being used as a lot for local construction. Next, there's an undeveloped tract of land that the city plans on using in the future. And the event center, which lies in the middle of our project boundary. Next, the carousel building, which is a historical part of the park and one of its biggest attractions. And then all the park features that we look to upgrade, the playground, the workout area, mini golf, etc.
The biggest challenge associated with the site is that it used to house the Logansport generation plant, which fired coal for over 100 years. And so that is an active brownfield to this day, and the amount of contamination is still a little bit up in the air. We don't know what is still in the water. We don't know what is still in the soil. Therefore, we have to be very, very careful. And as you know, the dam was removed in 2022. However, the floodplain has not been updated yet. So that was another issue with our design, that we did not know the new floodplain elevation or extent. So we had to do a little bit of analysis on that front to get some new information. As well as the river itself is a constant source of erosion, that's just a fact of life. As Roswell engineers, we're taught to consider all three pillars of sustainability. Those are environmental, social, and economic. An environmental consideration is that the banks of the river may house endangered Indian mussels. Social consideration is that the Riverside Park used to host Steel on the Heel, which is the most popular event of the year, essentially, and it actually outgrown the park, so we'd like to increase capacity so they can bring it back. As well as this park is right in the heart of the city, and it's the underutilized space, so we'd really like to increase that usage of the space and make it a more economic asset for the city, to bring in more people and more dollars.
So the first aspect of our design that we'll look at is the boardwalk, which is located in this yellow boundary area. Here's a brief schematic view of the boardwalk. It was kind of fun to design for a few constraints that we had to consider. So the first is that we owned a few plots of land, but the vibrant event center is right in the middle. So we didn't want to disturb their land, but we wanted to continue a walking path. So in order to do that, we wanted to circumvent it with a boardwalk. We didn't want to go bridge across the river, but we wanted it to go around and go out into the river. So you can see we have a couple of piers that extend out into the river. Tier 2 goes a little bit further out into the river because we wanted it to be an outlook. You can see the sunset on the river, take some nice pictures, all that kind of stuff. And then we ended up doing it in 3 sections or spans, and the longest of those was span 1, so we designed that. As Alex mentioned, we are Roswell engineers, we design for sustainability. The driving one that we designed for was the social pillar, because we really want this to be a social space, draw people to Logansport. So we designed mostly for that. We did consider the economic pillar cost. We were given no budgetary constraints, so while we tried to keep cost effective, we did design for social first. And then we always keep in mind the environmental pillar, so we wanted to make a long-lasting design. This is a pedestrian bridge that's currently on the site. We wanted to make a cohesive aesthetic, so we tried to make it look somewhat similar to this. We used a steel truss system, like this does, and as well as concrete piers and concrete walking surface or deck to make it look like that. This is very technical, but in the end, this is kind of what our design included. So we designed the truss, as well as the deck, and transverse beams to support that deck, and connections between all of that.
Now with the substructure of the boardwalk, these 3 cross sections. So the system is founded on drill shafts located at B, cross section B. Luckily, there's a shallow elevation to bedrock, and much like a lot of Indiana, it's limestone. This gives us a large bearing capacity to support the large head load and loads of the grid. And at the locations A and C, similar, we're able to found the abundance on top of the limestone to support this large head load.
Now we'll look into some of the development, starting really in the highlights of the park. On the east, with your break line, full of men, there would be room for stage concessions here. In blue, you can see a multi-trail system designed for both of them. site, up and connect the site. Next, we'll look at the east parking lot. This east parking lot will be the primary part of the park area, separate for spots with acceptable spots. There's a need in this area, here on the streams, also provide place for larger hotels. Now we'll take a look at the west side of the parking lot. The west lot has 226 spots, with those spots constructed on the brownfield, capping off that destination. This lot will be good for the boardwalk and overflow of the park itself.
So, to keep it track of the design vision, promoting the social aspect, and including history for great families and a lot of park goers. We wanted to keep in a lot of aspects, so shaded park areas, important place, adding like playgrounds to protect from fall height, and playgrounds to accommodate both young children and older children. So our design includes retrofitting the existing area circled in red that has a basketball court on there, and adding in 3 concrete padded sections with a trail in black going between. So in the upper left concrete pad section, putting in a hexagonal shade sail, and our design includes circular footings that can support the weight of the shade sail, as well as structures for seating. And this area conveniently overlooks the playground areas, specifically the one in the upper right corner, which is designed for toddlers ages 2 to 5. And again, we designed for the 4 in-place padding to protect from fall height to roughly about 9 feet. And the southern half of the concrete padded section includes an older children's playground designed for ages 5 to 12. Again, with padding for a design fall height of 13 feet, and a lot of larger playground equipment structure. And our base stabilization occurs over our entire site. Our first method of base stabilization is biotechnical erosion control. This is the process of implementing native plants along the bank. The root structure is really good at making the soil stick together and preventing erosion. And it's really good for the environment and a sustainable method. Our next method of stabilization is a gaping wall implemented north of the event center. This area has steep slopes and it's a high area of concern. And then post-construction activities, we want to make sure that all slopes are graded, so to minimize the effect of erosion. And this just shows an aerial view of the bank stabilization where the entirety of our technical erosion control will occur in areas lacking any vegetation or areas disturbed by construction. And that location is where the gaping wall will be.
Thank you. So when we met with Aaron and Mayor in the fall, they really wanted something that would beautify the area. And so the team decided on a bioswale, which is outlined here in light blue, and also known as rain gardens, just vegetated depression with native plants, grasses, and wildflowers to help capture and infiltrate that stormwater. However, it's hard to get across back and forth if there's a ditch. That's why we have created several culverts outlined in pink. You can see in the bottom right here is a full culvert that allows water to pass through. It is great and flat on the top, so it is also ADA accessible. And this was one of the larger pinch points because this is a very high clay soil in this area, therefore it infiltrates very slowly. And you are required to have it fully drained in 72 hours so that the park is back to usable condition very quickly after the storm event. Next slide, please. And then for the brownfield lot, we had to get a little bit creative because direct runoff from cars, oil spills, and all that directly into the river is not an acceptable solution because that will greatly disrupt the life cycle of those endangered mussels and the fish. So what the team agreed on was an Logansport. This is also known as an essential fuel grit separator. And so all of the stormwater from the brownfield lot will be redirected into this essential fuel grit separator, and it will capture all of the particles and oils and greases maybe before discharging clear, clean water into the ocean.
And now we'll talk a little bit about construction phases. We have a 4-phase construction process in the month ahead. Phase 1 includes the park area, such as the trails, track-on, playground, stormwater management. This will provide a space for residents to enjoy and visit. The next phase would be the parking lot. This would allow for larger events, based on the mix of the street safer with less parking in the street. Phase 3 would be boardwalk, providing other attractions to the park. And phase 4 would be the west lot, providing extra parking with the boardwalk and park itself. This is our construction cost of the project. Phase 1 is really the most expensive.
So just a little bit of a progress summary. It was really one of the first opportunities to use the river as an amenity, so we wanted to highlight the natural beauty of Logansport and really focus on citizens and visitors, creating a space where everyone can enjoy. And overall, just love improving a place where everyone wants to live, work, and play. So this is the end of our presentation. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
I have one question. On the groundwater, how many gallons of water approximately will that divert from the river? Is that your plan to divert stormwater from the river into your rain gardens?
Yeah, so I'm going to capture it from the river, but it's stormwater
rain.
Otherwise. Right. So it's about 100,000 cubic feet, which is about 250,000 gallons. So this can handle quite a large event, about a 10-year return period, which is up to code for Indiana.
We had problems with the park flooding before through torrential rainfall. Will that deter that in any way?
Yeah, it's still mitigate it, but if anything, as we're expecting with climate change, more and more intense rain events, we might not be able to handle the very largest, most extreme events.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. One other question on the parking to the east of the ball diamond. What would that be made of? What type of park? Are you going to pave that lot or what? Back around the trees, just to the east of the ball diamond. It's open space now. What surface is going to be on there for parking?
Yeah, the design is for asphalt pavement.
Asphalt, okay. How many parking spaces approximately?
It has, I believe,
Ballpark?
on the east side, you said,
Yes, sir.
244 spots is what I designed for.
Okay. Thank you.
This could be changed, like if you wanted to add some, different, like stormwater management facilities within the parking lot. It could be, it could be from, or, the lot could be sized differently too for different capacities as well.
Okay, thank you.
Guys have the opportunity to look at the current, master plan for the park area at all?
We did. So that was kind of the basis for our design, and then we had to use a little bit of engineering behind that. For example, we saw outlooks in the master plan design, but we determined it would infringe too much on the stormwater management plan and negatively impact the stable aspects. So we decided to incorporate those outlook features into our bridge design and try to achieve the same goals and vision, but in a more sustainable way. Yeah, so definitely it was the basis for our design.
Very nice. Looks like you did a great job. Looks nice.
Becky, can you explain what the next step is? So you guys present today, but then you'll be providing us with a final report on everything. Just a little bit on for them to understand what the next step is.
Yes, so we prepared a full technical report Just keep in mind you are student engineers, so we did have to get some waivers signed. This is not like a full technical engineering document, but it does show all of our calculations, our design process. It has all appendices, I believe, A through I, from every single aspect, from every discipline. So it's a really full in-depth report where anyone can go through and review it. If there's specific aspects that you like to design, really encourage you to go through, see where our thought process was. We have a lot of technical writing and also in our design, so anyone can really understand that from both the civilian and engineering perspective. So.
Great, look forward to looking through it. So is it, I mean, are you guys like are you seniors now and this is like your final project before you get the stamp of approval to get your degrees?
Yeah, so this was our biggest project of our entire collegiate career, I would say. So we've been working on this since the fall quarter, August, September of 2024. And we have done so much. We had the pleasure of doing a site visit and meeting a lot of people from Logansport. Aaron has been a wonderful client of ours and been really helpful every step of the way. So it's been a wonderful experience for us to not only learn the technical aspect of civil engineering projects, stormwater management, geotechnical, but we have to apply it to a real world scenario. We have a client, a lot of interpersonal skills other than doing equations on paper. So it's been a really amazing opportunity for us.
Anything else to help?
Other than we're glad we were able to give you the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. Erin has all my contact information. Please feel free to share it to anyone. And Erin, I will send you our final report once it's signed off from our professors.
Great, thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on the agenda.
Expecting that's all I got. I'll just, hey, you know who I'm gonna call, I'll call BJ.
I'm pretty sure I wasn't gonna ask them, but didn't. Oh, it did work. Yeah, we contracted her. Yeah. Don't we have our updated? We did not have
It's
it in
not
time.
finished because of the ripple. So the ripple was finished,
they
now
had
they're
And
finishing
they had to
theirs.
go back and.
The ripple, yeah.
Unrip, okay.
Okay. You're presenting to them, not me.
Uh-oh. Look at,
Yeah, I can. If you want me to. Oh, you can just click if you want, Sam.
So this is the,
Oh, okay, just.
so this is the second group. They worked on Chase and Davis. So
Got it.
I'll turn it over to them.
Welcome everybody. We've been working really hard the past like 8 months to try and get this to you guys, and we're really excited to show you guys what we've come to. So with that being said, we are M2W, a senior design group at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, and this is the Logansport Neighborhood Development Project. My name is Sam Mikowski. I'm going into the bridge engineering field upon graduation, and I'm originally from right around the corner of Peru, Indiana.
My name is Callie Travioli, and I am going into site development after graduation, and I am from Clinton, Indiana.
My name is Bailey Eric. I'm also going to site development after graduation, and I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
My name is Yanisha Wright. I am also going into site development after graduation, and I'm from Westfield, Indiana.
So first, we just want to say we've had a really wonderful time kind of learning more about the city. Obviously, I'm kind of from near here, but I really didn't know all that everything Logansport had to offer. We understand you guys have a really great community, and we truly believe that our project not only will help grow your community, but also enhance it. So getting into the actual project, our site is at the kind of north part of Logansport, and we've been working with the Logansport Redevelopment Commission and working at our main point of contact has been Aaron Shaver, who's been a tremendous help for this whole process.
So as you can see, our project is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Chase and Davis Road, and it is just east of Houston Park and north of the Eel River.
So on our site, there were 3 streams and a wetland directly in the middle of it. There's an existing home in like the north center part of the property, and then you can see where Chase and Davis Road intersect at that roundabout. So when we went to the site in the fall, it was a cornfield, so it was kind of hard to see everything. It was interesting to walk through there and try to find where we were going to do like our tests and everything that we completed for our design. So this is a picture of the stream and the wetland that is directly in the middle of the site. And then this was a picture that was taken after the field was cleared. And you can kind of see, not super well, but the site slopes about 10 feet from north to south. So there is a bit of a slope on the site.
Okay, so going into some of the things that our client wanted. So the first thing is various housing options. So this can be seen for people with different economic backgrounds. And then our next thing is the connection to the existing park, which will be seen later with our trail network that we will be connecting to Houston Park. And then also retention ponds that can be used for landscaping features and also to collect the stormwater on the site. And then mixed use services, so providing different amenities, apartment buildings, and different business opportunities for the people of Logansport, and then also no direct entrance or exit from Davis Road. This is because the traffic counts on Davis are already pretty heavy, as that is like one of the main roads into the city. So going into our solution, we have 112 sites, or 112 lots on our site, 12 1-acre lots, which are seen in the middle, and then 37 half-acre lots, 48 fourth-acre lots, and then there's 18 front-loaded townhomes, and then a multi-use building in the northwest corner of our site with a parking lot directly south of that. And then there is a detention basin in the southwest corner of our site, which will collect the stormwater from that. So going directly into the roadways, we've decided that we would like to provide 27-foot wide roadways. This will be for so that we can have on-street parking on both sides of the road, so that we can still provide two-way traffic or two-way flow, so that this traffic can still go in these in the neighborhood. And then there will also be, the road will be crowned in the middle so that there will be no flooding and puddling on the road, and the stormwater will run directly to the inlets placed on the road. So looking into the entrances, since we didn't want any direct entrance or exits onto Davis Road, we have provided 3 entrances on Chase Road. And then we will have an emergency exit and entrance on Davis Road, which can be seen with the green space area. So this will be for emergency vehicles to get to the east portion of our site. So going into the trail network, this will have a connection to Houston Park Trail System, which is directly east of our site, and then also there will be connection to the pre-existing trail running parallel with Chase Road. And then looking at this section, this will be running in between 4 different lots. So we have decided that we will provide large trees that will provide privacy to these homeowners so that the trail won't be loud, and for that. And then there's a pedestrian bridge at the crossing of the trail and the stream.
So for the bridge crossing the trail, we decided to use a reinforced concrete abutment with a timber deck. And to design the abutments, we used an ideal cross-section, which can be seen at the top of the screen there. And it was about a 16,000-pound load was what they were designed for. And it resulted in a 7 by 4.5 by 1 foot.
So for the stormwater management for the project, we decided to go with 2 different kinds of management practices. So for the west development, this is where the retention pond will be at the southeast corner of the site. And for this part of the development, there will be inlets and a conveyance system that contributes to the retention pond. And then it will also have an outlet structure. Just when there is like a large storm event, it will outlet into the creek, but this water will be treated before going there. So no sediment or soil will go into the creek. And then for the east development, we decided on infiltration trenches. So there will be cuts in the curb so that the stormwater from the road will be able to run into the trenches, and then the stormwater generated from the house will also go into these. And this is good because it is a best management practice, and it will recharge the groundwater. So we'll be like infiltrating the water back in, and it is more like environmentally friendly.
So getting into the multi-use building, we've come up and proposed a 22,000 square foot footprint for a rectangular building with 3 floors, with 4 business spaces and 40 residential spaces throughout the building. The actual structure itself will be a concrete podium structure on the first level, with timber construction on top to kind of promote the ease of construction and be environmentally friendly. The business, like I said, will have 4 business multi-use building will have 4 business spaces on the bottom. Those will be accessible on the north side, and all of the residential spaces will be accessible on the south side, just to kind of keep some separation for people just going into their apartment and people trying to get into any of those businesses. And that's just an example of what any of the apartments can look like for a floor plan.
So the loads provided by the structural lead resulted in 5 different sized foundations ranging in size from 7.5 feet square foundations to 16 feet square foundations, and they had varying amounts of columns. And throughout this process, we determined that shallow foundations are a feasible solution for the multi-use.
So looking at the environmental impacts of the project, we considered the increased stormwater runoff, which would be managed with the stormwater management system. We also considered altered hydrology. So whenever you're developing a site, there's always the risk that you could be negatively impacting the downstream of wherever there is a stream. And we didn't want to increase the amount of water downstream or decrease. That's also a negative impact. So by having the outlet structure, there is still going to be the proper amount of water that would be like leaving the site. And then soil erosion and sedimentation is another risk whenever you're developing a site, just by increasing impervious area. So by implementing best management practices during construction, this is less of a concern.
Okay, so looking at some considerations that we may need to take. The first one is zoning. So right now, our site is anticipated to be a single residential zoning, and this wouldn't account for the multi-use building that we have provided. So we have considered that this may need to be a plan use development for zoning, which will account for multi-use building, which will be important for this site because it'll provide more business opportunities and also more living opportunities for the people of Logansport. And then the next thing that we may need to consider is dewatering during construction. So this will be important for the 12 1-acre sites in the middle of our site because the wetland is right there. So dewatering may need to be accounted for so that the soil is stable for building in these sites. And then the next thing will be for construction for impact for the wetland. So just making sure we're taking proper just considerations for this, so like silt fences and other things, so that we can limit the waste and the damage for the wetland.
What is going to happen to the wetland?
It will remain.
It'll remain there
Okay.
in the site.
So getting kind of into the final cost, we've estimated kind of around $5.8 million. A lot of these were based off of approximations using websites like RSMeans, which is just a construction approximation website. You can see the highest cost of this is the multi-use building, but that is a little bit low. That's around, I believe, $75 per square foot. And normally buildings of this size go like 200 to 250. But that is because this estimate only accounts for the actual structure of the building. So this could eventually end up anywhere near $10 to $15 million just for the building itself. And also this does not include any of the homes that are going to be on any of the lots. That will be just for your labor. So our final thoughts, we truly believe that this project will grow and enhance your city. With an aesthetically pleasing neighborhood, it will increase attraction to this great city. And we've ensured compatibility between the design, the existing infrastructure, and within the environment. So that being said, thank you guys very much for bringing us in and listening to us. If you guys have any questions for us.
I'm curious about these infiltration trenches. I've never heard of them. I mean, will they stand up to heavy rains? I mean, they're...
So the way they were designed, it was a 100-year storm event,
Mhm.
and the duration was 24 hours. So this would be like one of the largest storm events that would occur. So they are sized for that event. So any like regular rain that we would have would withstand, or they would withstand that, even a large storm event.
Is it like a dry well or?
Yeah, it's like, so it is an excavation, and then there is like backfill material. So this would be some sort of aggregate just to increase the amount of infiltration capacity. And then the soils are really, the infiltration like coefficient for the soils mean that it is easily infiltrated into the ground. So this would be like a great place for that.
So these are built along the edges of the road, these
Yes.
infiltration, and so then you don't have outlets for this system at all, or do you still have outlets for them?
For this system, no, it's just infiltrating back into the groundwater table.
Is there a top layer or is this aggregate?
On top, it would be soil and then grass.
That's what I think.
Mhm.
It's a soil that goes into like a hole that has aggregate so that it's still.
Mhm. Kind of like a septic system of sorts.
Yes.
Thank you.
You said that you would have houses where they would just have a quarter acre of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So how many houses are you putting in a space that just has a quarter acre of a lot for their land? And which area is it? I didn't understand.
So the quarter acre lots are right here, here, and here. You can't really see the lot lines, kind of.
Well, I thought the vision was, so for the most east side, where it's across from Davis Road, the idea there was to build that area the same as across the road. So if you use a 1/4 acre lot, is that what the other lots across the road have? Because I don't think so. Like,
I don't know that they're full half acre though, either of those lots across the street.
Yeah, but if you drive down that road, you're not going to see more than 8 houses across the road from this. And how many houses are you putting in there at a quarter acre?
So these are on small lots right here. These are on small lots right here, these 2 houses.
Yeah.
And it gets into Easy Hill, which do
Yeah.
have acreages, like large.
Right, so I'm saying, the whole idea was to make this be, make it look like the other side of the road.
That was the plan too.
Yeah, so, I just think I wouldn't be interested in designing a quarter acre lot and having that many houses in that area.
That's understandable. You could also combine those to make them like larger lots.
Yeah.
But they do have 100 feet of frontage, and like looking into other houses in the area, and like with advice from like our professors, they said that like nowadays you're paying a lot more money for like each foot of frontage.
Mhm.
So it makes it more like economically feasible for like more economic backgrounds, which was also something that like we considered
Mhm.
for
I
the
understand.
project. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But those could definitely be half-acre lots if you wanted them to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
those
that's,
houses are a little less than a half acre, so.
yeah, okay.
And I do want to just point out, I mean, they got some of our plans that we were looking at, but after discussion with professors and different things like that, this is, your plan changed as it went
Yeah.
along. So just maybe explain how that worked a little bit for them to understand that you did take in effect all of the plans and stuff were given to you, but that how that maybe evolved a little bit.
So we did receive the like conceptual plans at the beginning of the project, but then we had a meeting with like our civil engineering advisors at the end of the quarter, and many of them work in land development, and they said like nowadays that you're just seeing a lot of like smaller lots just because it like does make for more people to be able to like afford them, but also like a lot of them have the same amount of like frontage, it's just differing in depth, so like they would have a smaller backyard, but you could put like almost the same size house on the lot, it just would have like a smaller backyard.
Mhm.
Yeah, I understand.
Where did you, in your picture with the trail, where would the trail go into Houston in your?
We didn't get that far on it. We just had an extension that said like
Okay.
connect to Houston Trail, but we definitely, it would need to be considered that there is like trees, a lot of like woodland in the area where you would have to connect to, so trying to minimize the amount of trees that would need to be taken down in order to build on that area.
Thank you.
Without losing my voice again, you said the only entrance would be on Chase Road there, nothing on Davis?
Yeah, here.
Except for emergency uses?
Mhm. We looked at the traffic counts, or I looked at the traffic counts, and it's about 1,000 per day difference between Chase and Davis Road. Davis Road is about 1,000 more. So we wanted to reduce the amount of traffic since that is the main road going to the city.
But if you're using it only for emergency use, how would they get in?
So it's like, it would be like a grassland area. So the vehicles would be able to turn into this area in order to get to that portion of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I believe in some of our conceptuals, we had something similar to that in there. I was curious about your roads. You talked about your roads and the width of your road. Is that you said the roadway was 27 feet wide?
Yeah.
And is that a normal width for a roadway?
Usually the normal width is about 12 feet per lane, so about 24 feet or 10 feet wide. But when talking to my professors, they said that making this larger, 27 feet, would account for like on-street parking, so that usually with normal roads, if one car is parked there, then only one car can get around if like two are coming at the same time. So this would account for like if two cars are parked on the road, then both cars can still get through.
So with 27 feet, you still got room for two vehicles to pass two parked cars.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you guys for all the work you did on this.
Yes, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed the challenge. And
It's been challenging at times, but it's been a lot of fun.
appreciate the work you did for us to present this, and I guess you're going to be like the other group. You'll send us a final.
Yeah, we've got somebody around 7 pages.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Every time something ever.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's even batteries in that saying, Bill.
So we're gonna make it to be like across the other side of the road where you're not even close.
No, those lots are pretty big.
Yeah.
So this one we're tabling. This one we're tabling.
Yes, it has to wait.
And this one is.
Here's what we, this is the original one that we said we were going to table it at that meeting. So this is what we actually will discuss. Now, what I did, instead of trying to amend this down, I rewrote resolution as an option to amend it to that.
So what do we do to this one? Like if I have to read this, I say I want that. I don't want to ask her to vote for it. I want to.
This one is. I would say is that we need discussion.
Okay.
And I would just tell them, you know, I would like for them to, if this was originally was tabled, so we had to readdress it.
Right.
Can't just forget it.
Oh, yes, that's true.
She said that was one part car.
120. Yep.
I was like, you should calculate that right. She said,
That's why I was just curious.
yeah, I was like, you might want to double check that. She goes, I think you calculated it wrong. And I was like, okay.
So since this one's already read, it has to be on there again and denied.
I said it
So
wrong.
we could read the next one. That's the new one. Gotcha. But they're resolutions anyway, so it really doesn't make a difference. Doesn't change the timeline or anything. Speaking of Kelly, is he going to be here tonight? I know, I don't see what he's here. He's done.
Good evening. It is Monday, May 5th, 2025. I'm Mayor Chris Martin. We're going to start today's evening meetings with a public hearing for the annexation, ordinance 2025-13. Mr. Cuppy, if you'd like to come up.
Yes, this is our public hearing. I'll just state a couple of summarized points, and if anybody has any questions, that'd be great. Reminder, this is for our, what will be the driving range at Dyken Park, just north of the golf course. RDC purchased the property. They put in a petition that they want to be super voluntary annexed into the city of Logansport. They're 100% owner of the property, so they're the only petition that was needed. It's 10 acres. It'll be part of Ward number 1, Cameron's Ward. It will change fire districts to Logansport. Therefore, if this is passed, this ordinance in 2 readings, it'll take effect January 1, 2027. The process order is pretty simple. We introduced the ordinance in first reading and it passed. We don't want to pass it tonight in second reading. We'll have a public hearing tonight. 14 days have to pass, and then we will introduce a fiscal plan in June. And if that's approved, then we would go to second reading for the annexation in June. So tonight's the mandatory public hearing for this site. Is there any questions?
Questions from the public? Any questions from council?
Basically, we'll table the ordinance for a month.
Yeah, my request when you get to that point will be ordinance 2025-13 would be tabled and then brought back up in June after the fiscal plan.
Yep. Thank you, Bill.
So,
thank you.
works, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's 5:52 PM. I will close the public hearing for ordinance 2025-13.
This is for you. This is just a.
It's gonna be walking in.
There it is. Looks like he was walking here.
Yeah. Just in time. Just in time.
Just in time.
You didn't walk here, did you?
No.
That's good.
Yeah, 'cause it's
Across the
raining.
street.
Oh, yeah, it was for everybody.
Drops on it. Yeah.
How did you know about it?
Big drops.
We discussed it.
I was never told date, I was never told time, I was never told anything.
I thought you didn't want to took her ticket invitation.
Well, we approved the thing, but they said, no, it's in for us too, but then I never heard anything about it.
Well, did you eat one for both of us?
Excited.
The park one's really exciting.
Yeah. I was so mad I missed that.
What do you really think?
I didn't know anything about it.
It is.
I think it comes out to like 3.4 total.
Oh, that's not bad.
For the whole, all 4 phases.
Tyler was supposed to put out a memo on it.
Did I get one?
I didn't think about it, and then I saw where somebody.
Saw that. They went into some detail too.
Yeah. I knew when it was supposed to be, but I forgot about it. 'Cause,
Well, I
you know,
remember
originally
saying
Lauren
yes.
wanted
I remember saying
funding
yes
for
to
it,
it,
and then
yeah.
she got a, well, no, then she got a, Oh, the older.
She didn't know. I wanted to her name, but
I can't even think of it offhand, but I should know it.
oh, it was bad.
I went in there the other day to, talk to, what's the gal secretary's name?
Brenda. Yeah.
Prayer thing with the other day? Ryan?
Oh, yeah, I do have that tomorrow.
10 a.m.?
Yep, I'll be here. I will be here. Yeah, just thank you for letting me. I usually look at my calendar at night just to make sure.
My calendar on the computer updated and everything's different now.
But you didn't, okay.
So
I'm
like
glad I'm
my
not the only
calendar
one.
invite is weird. It doesn't come in an email anymore. It just comes up in the corner. I didn't even notice it till today.
Wow, see, that's good.
It's a good thing I saw it.
I know, exactly.
It's very weird.
Yes, yes, it is.
Too many emails lately.
This was like last week, but I said,
Well, maybe it was after she sent the
I said I could do
initial
this day or
email.
this day, but I said the earliest I could do is 2 o'clock, and so she emailed Jackson, and so I'm going at 2 o'clock tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 2.
That's when I'm going, but I said that not everybody can go at the same time or whatever, but she was like, I was wondering how I'm gonna get you in, but she was super nice about it, but I was like,
Yeah.
I can go in the summer, like, if I can't make it, I can't make it, don't do anything special for me.
Yeah.
You got a tickle in your throat, I take it?
Good evening. It is 6 p.m. Monday, May 5th, 2025. I'm Mayor Chris Martin, calling to order the regular session of the Logansport Common Council. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
BJ Cox?
Present.
Chris Howard?
Present.
Cameron Austin?
Present.
Haley Zinsmaster?
Present.
Scott Peedy?
Present.
Susie Wamsley?
Present.
Dave Morris?
Present.
We'll start with the approval of minutes for the April 7th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris?
Yes.
Susie Wamsley?
Yes?
Scott Peedy?
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster?
Yes.
Cameron Austin?
Yes.
Chris Howard?
Yes.
BJ Cox?
Yes.
All right, reports from committees, boards, and commissions.
Finance Committee met on April the 10th. Items discussed were Myers Springs tax abatement for some equipment purchases, some of the opioid settlement funding money allocated for requests from Youth Service Alliance. We talked about the fountain, but the fountain did not need any funding. Parks fund transfer, and then on April the 28th, we had another Finance Committee meeting where we talked about the CIP and infrastructure fund transfer.
We had a Rules Committee meeting on April 28th where we started discussions on the updating the unsafe building ordinance. That's just kind of tabled. It's a work in progress.
Where we had a planning and economic development meeting on the 28th. We discussed planning ordinance 2508, language for the mobile vendors. Some language was changed in there. And there was a discussion on Dunwoody Park. 2 of the resolutions are on tonight's agenda. They should be taken off, not voted on tonight for last minute changes. I believe it should go back to committee and have public comments. Do not.
We can discuss that when we get there, Scott. We can discuss that when we get there.
Okay.
Any other reports? All right, on to old business ordinance 2025-12. Councilman Petey?
It's 2025-12, an ordinance to the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, rezoning property located between 6th and 10th Street, north of Ray Street to the Eel River. On the second reading, Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2025-12, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
BJ Cox,
Yeah.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Ordinance 2025-12 passes. Ordinance 2025-13, Councilman Morris?
2025-13, an ordinance of the City of Logansport, Indiana, annexing territory to the City of Logansport, placing the same within the corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the City of Logansport and Northwest Everett Road super voluntary annexation. Make a motion to table this.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris, Scott Petey,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
BJ Cox, Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Ordinance 2025-13 is tabled. Ordinance 2025-14, Councilman Austin?
Ordinance 2025-14, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, rezoning property located at the southwest corner of Chase and Davis, Logansport, Indiana. On the second reading, Mr. Mayor, ask for a vote on ordinance 2025-14.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Ordinance 2025-14 passes on its second reading. Resolution 2025-119, Councilwoman Wamsley?
Resolution 2025-119, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the transfer of land owned by the Parks and Recreation Department and deemed surplus in 2021, also known as Dunwoody Park, to the City of Logansport and its Redevelopment Commission for Development of Housing for Peak Community Services. I move for a vote on 2025-119.
I'll second the vote.
This is the one that we need to.
We were going to do that under discussion, Kelly.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion?
So I'd like to discuss ordinance 2025-119. It's on the agenda tonight because it was tabled at the last meeting. We had a committee meeting, Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting, and it was brought back. We voted, or the consensus was to move that back to tonight. What we did is I went and talked to Bill myself. I won't lie about it. Suggested a couple things. We found a few more things out. And he reached out to Peak, and what we were looking at was the possibility of amending 2025-119. It was simpler to have Kelly amend the original resolution 2025-119 to reflect what is in resolution 2025-128. We are actually asking to only transfer the southern lots that are in Dunwoody Park. The wooded lots are all, the second request is for. Now, we don't need to take that back to committee. Nothing's been done that we haven't done before by amending a resolution. There are people here that may want to discuss that proposal, and I think we would all be open to listening to their discussion. But the idea would be, if we prefer the amendment, we would basically just vote this one down and approve the second resolution. Now, is that a proper explanation of that, Kelly?
Yes, I didn't even know all the explanation. I drafted it the way you guys suggested.
Right,
You wanted it.
the second one, yes. So,
What about the public that are not here? Some of them have given up thinking things have already been decided before they even had a chance to speak. That's what I was told, twice.
The amended version is a really good compromise between the two from what we originally started with. I mean, it's scaled back to one group home, one duplex. Only the wooded lots, they're not going to cut down all the trees, they're going to make it nice landscaping. I mean, I think it's a very good compromise from what we started with, at least.
I got the email on Friday. How is that supposed to get to the residents on 18th Street so they know what's going on?
well, the residents knew that the original resolution was coming back, and if they still had concerns, I feel like they're, I mean, it looks like there's quite a few of them out here today, Scott, and most of them are the ones that were here concerned about it previously. So in my mind, if they weren't concerned about us transferring 9 of the lots to them, why would they be concerned about only transferring 6?
What about the other field, the other lots? Where they, what's the fate of those?
They're just going to stay where they're at for the time being. They're just going to stay with the Parks Department. Or the city. Now, the Parks has given them to the city, so they're technically the city's at this point.
I think any changes should have a public comment or public hearing so everyone knows what's going on. Most of the people.
Is there anyone that would like to come and speak on this?
Hey, you can come up.
I'm not used to doing this.
Address for the record, please.
Patricia Babcock, 820 Davis Road, Logansport.
What's your address?
820 Davis Road.
Davis Road.
I missed the last meeting because I'm out of town a lot. But I have a rental property on 18th Street. It's a duplex. It does not have a driveway. Their only parking is 18th Street. It's always very congested. I have arguments all the time with the neighbors and the, different people living there. They took my spot, blah, blah, blah. They have to park way down the street or somewhere else. And then when there are both sides are parkable and there's cars all up and down there, it's very difficult to get 2 cars to go each way. You're going to have to pull over and let somebody go. So I don't know what the change is, how congested it will be, how much you're actually going to be building now. But that was, and I'm sure you've heard that already about that. But I'm here because I have a kind of a suggestion that would really help, at least for the side that my house is on, the east side. So maybe we can require either Peak or the city could do this for those houses that don't have driveways. I'm assuming that there's going to be just the one in and out, which is in front of Dunwoody Park, between the house and the river. So if you could somehow, either with Peak doing it or the city, make a alley right behind our houses, level with the backyards, then we can put a pad down and create more parking behind our houses. I mean, it would be great if Peak or the city would do all that for us, and even a driveway up to the back door, because it's very costly. But that would take care of, the parking situation and a lot of the congestion on the street, because then we would have access to an alley behind the houses.
Yeah.
Now, I also own the house at 1904 High Street, which is currently a rental. And that backyard is right next to Pawn Juanita Herd, which is at 1900, that butts up against the forest there. And, forever, those backyards and those beyond mine have been very peaceful, quiet. You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. And then if they were to cut down all those woods butting up to those backyards, it would really change the whole atmosphere. So if we're going to end up seeing buildings and windows and whatnot right there at the edge, if you could require a privacy fence of some sort, to kind of keep the whole atmosphere the same in the backyards there along 19 and High. That would really help as well. I think a lot of the neighborhood would appreciate that, and also appreciate the fact that there would now be an alleyway. And also, the alleyway would also help because not only would they be able to get into Peak that way, but then maybe Peak can also have two ways in and out, because there's an alley up further too. Behind that first house on High, there's an alley. So maybe like that could even be fixed up better, make it actually like a road, so there's two in and outs, so they won't have to come way down the street to get in and out. Does that make sense? And then if there's a nice...
Considered.
Yeah, that's already.
It has been? Oh, good. Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't here before. This is my first meeting. Okay, good. So those are my suggestions if this has to go through. Those are the only things I really cared about, so.
I believe they want to keep the trees for privacy, as many as possible. I mean, they're going to cut down what they need to for the house and anything that is dead or that can't be saved, but then they will keep shade trees and trees for privacy.
And then another thing, and I don't really know the people that would be living there and their level of capacity or anything like that at all, but maybe wandering off, if that's an issue. Okay.
Not normally. I
Not
mean,
normally?
I can't speak for Peak, but I delivered mail for a living, and quite honestly, you rarely saw the residents outside. I'm not going to say they don't go outside, but, and there's someone there with them 24/7 is my understanding.
Okay, good, because without a fence, on the opposite side, on the east side, they could go in those yards and kind of get lost in the rivers there and liability for the homeowners and stuff like
Sure.
that. So that's another concern for the
Right.
fence.
And one last thing, all of their parking would be minimal. They'd have a bus that would bring the residents in and out of there, the small bus.
Mhm.
And all of their parking would be on-site. They would build it so that they had on-site parking.
Right.
So all their parking there would be no additional parking on 18th Street and very little additional traffic.
Oh, that was my concern, was the traffic.
Yeah.
Because staff going in and out and visitors and stuff like that, I didn't really know. It sounded to me, the original plan was to build up a lot.
The original was 4
Yeah.
buildings, and it's been scaled back to 2 at this point.
Okay. Okay. Okay, well, thank you. That's all I needed to mention.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up.
Paul Wilhelm, 630 South 15th Street. I know that sometimes we do things and we think they're a good idea, and it's sort of like the student that goes to school. He knows there's a final at the end of the year and he doesn't study at all for it. He doesn't plan any contingencies, and he gets blindsided when he walks in and gets an F on the paper. And that's kind of the situation we have here. I've been learning about this process as we went along these various meetings, and with each meeting, things changed. Unlike a typical developer who'd come in, this is what we're going to do, this is what you would approve. It's a moving guidepost. So after the last meeting, I realized that there's going to be substantial tree loss on the wooded site there at Peak. And I did a little research, and I found out a few things that I'm sure the council may or may not know. I'm going to assume you probably don't. Peak would essentially clear cut a large part of that lot as part of their development plan. And I've been studying the federal Eagle Act, and I learned the city of Logansport is ignoring federal law and process spelled out by it. As any resident around there can tell you, there are eagles all the time. They hunt in both the rivers and the open fields of Dunwoody Park. From perches in the trees and the forest, they swoop down to get mice and other prey in the open field. Now, referring to the actual law, what actions may disturb an eagle? Disturb is defined in Regulation 50 CFR 22.3 as to agitate or bother a bald or gold eagle to a degree that it causes or is likely to cause, based on best scientific information available, injury to the eagle, decrease in productivity by substantially interfering with normal breeding, feeding, sheltering behavior, or nest abandonment. By structurally interfering with normal breeding, feeding, or sheltering behavior. Disturb includes immediate impacts such as loud noises that may cause eagles to abandon their eggs or young chicks. A disturbance may also happen if humans change the landscape around an eagle nest. Even if these changes happen outside the eagle nesting season or nest proper, the eagle may have future decreases in nest success and abandon the nest if these changes are significant. This is the important part of the act. However, Intentional commercial development where bald eagles are already nesting, roosting, wintering, or foraging. Foraging is a very important word there. Can negatively affect the bald eagle population and bald eagle safety health in that area. So I'm here for this purpose. You're on notice that the proposed activity may negatively impact the eagle nest pattern of habitat. You may appear to still intend to proceed with potentially threatening development activities undertaken by Peak. Therefore, I'm asking the City of Logansport if it has performed an environmental impact study or has obtained a take permit from the US FWS. Penalties for Eagle Act violations can range from up to 1 year in prison, $100,000 fine for first offense, 2 years in prison, $250,000 fine for the second offense. These fines can double for businesses or governmental entities. So if your answer is no, and you've not performed any environmental impact survey and intend to proceed, then my complaint will be sent to the US FWS, Fish and Wildlife. It's already prepared, ready to, all we have to do is hit send, and over a dozen Logansport residents have agreed to do this. Now, in the last week, I reached out to numerous eagle habitat organizations and environmental groups. I've been contacted back by 3 of their group attorneys so far. They tell me that the city would appear to be trying to circumvent the Eagle Act, and they would be prepared to seek a federal injunction in a federal court to prevent the sale and transfer of Dunwoody Park, because the city has failed to conduct the environmental impact study, and as of tonight, you're on public notice that you haven't done that. Those of you in the council who would proceed to approve the sale may want to ask the city attorney, Mr. Lehman, about just how long it may take to resolve this action in the federal courts. I'm told this process could take a couple of years. The city would need to find a friendly federal appellate to overrule the lower federal courts that would issue an injunction. That probably would...
You need to wrap it up, Paul.
Yeah, Paul, thanks.
That would appreciate it to get appealed up to the federal panel of judges for consolidation of different cases.
We have a 3-minute limit, sir, and you're over it, so thanks for your time.
Do that, Susie.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm just going to say, I've talked with Eagle Conservancy groups who would be potentially willing to take over Dunwoody Park, operate it as an eagle sanctuary, and take the burden off the city of owning that site.
Let me ask you, a quote. I'd be more than glad for you to send me that information, and I'd certainly look through it. I probably got 3 friends I could send something to and get a letter back from them. But you're a very confusing individual. I'm going to spend my 3 minutes just kind of saying a couple things here. I know when we first started talking about Dunwoody Park, you were all about building townhomes and condos and all this stuff that would have created much more havoc for that neighborhood. And now you're in here crusading for eagles, and no one had ever brought up eagles until I don't know when. It never happened in our open meetings. I went out there and I searched the area. There are no eagle nests in Dunwoody Park. I know there's some eagles that nest down close to Riverside on the other side of the river. I'm sure they fly around in there. There is no intent to level the forest. And I just wish that you'd stay on the same page once in a while.
Well, I'll tell you.
It's my turn to talk. You're done. Your 3 minutes is up. I just get tired of you always wanting to be an antagonist. Here's a perfect example. You were on the city a while back because we allowed Joe, the mall guy, to buy the Elks building. You were all about, why are you letting him spend money? He's not doing anything at the mall. Well, the mall's filled up now, and now I read this post you put out that says, this is a great thing that he's building condos down in the Elks, and I hope the city doesn't take responsibility for it. And I'm thinking, you're the same guy that was complaining about him buying the buildings. I just wish you'd come here one time and make up your mind what you want.
Well,
we'd know what to expect. No, you're done. You had your say. Send me the information. Send me the information.
Let him defend himself.
Unlike you, I'm able to learn.
Made accusations, let him defend himself.
Didn't make any accusations. Those are all accurate.
Okay.
You did. I can show you on Elks. He bought a condemned building. We had no code enforcement on that building for 3 years.
That wasn't why you were complaining. You were complaining, why is he buying other buildings and he's not worrying about the mall?
You didn't pay for it. You gave him the money for the paving at the mall, which he then turned around and he'd already negotiated the deal for that. But no, I'll just say this. This council needs to start following the rule of law. For too long, you people have done things halfway, made brash decisions, and it's come back to bite us.
Well, you know what?
When you're
Paul,
following,
you're done.
And I will just point to the.
Go ahead, have a seat.
yeah, when
Have a
you're
seat.
following, Paul, when you're following the rule of the law, it depends on what law you're reading. And you get past one point of a law, and then you just go dig around until you find something else. And that's why now today we're talking about bald eagles.
Is there anyone that lives in the neighborhood who would like to speak on this? I
Please
mean,
feel free. I mean, I know somebody, you wanted, I mean, please feel free. Don't
Yeah.
let that discourage you, please.
I was just going to reiterate some other things that had already been brought up and
Come on up to the table, Rob. Thank you.
My name's Robert Arnold, live at 81 18th Street on that street, in that section. And I was just going to reiterate concern about the limited access because it's at a dead end, which has been brought up, but the limited access, and especially during construction, how these big vehicles are going to get through there with their only input and output is 18th Street onto High Street. That's a concern I have. And then the other is, since it was brought up tonight, that the lots 26 through 33 were not included in this anymore and are going to remain with the city. Well, the city's been wanting to get rid of these lots all along, but now they're not. How is the neighborhood going to be notified when they're going to pursue and press on with that? The neighborhood barely got notified about the existing issue. So that's, and then just a nostalgic, I prefer to leave the Dunwoody Park area as it is because we've been there for 40 years. So that's it. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Any other discussion?
I just appreciate all the residents because they've been very professional in their concerns. The reason that things keep getting amended is we're doing our best to compromise the situation, to come to a solution. And this is the fourth meeting that we've been discussing this, so I think there's been ample opportunities for anybody to come down there. Started at 13 lots, it went to 9, it's down to 6. So yes, it passed out of committee with 9 lots, 3 buildings. Now it's down to 6 at 2 buildings. So the only thing that's really been amended is downward and through compromises. And just to protect myself, we talked about not doing homework. I take great pride in this job. There's a lot of things that have been done in this community that I think that are extremely positive. If we would halt our actions every time Mr. Wilhelm brought up something, nothing would ever get done. So it'll continually get diverted. If we move from 2 buildings to 1 building to 0, whatever, something will come up, eagles or traffic flow, or, I was told forever that the Walmart's moving to the Heartland, and they have an abatement. Well, they've never had an abatement. I was in this job. They have never had an abatement. But that was out there publicly, that he stated that they had an abatement, and then they're going to move to the Heartland because they're letting their building go to crap. Well, they've invested millions and millions of dollars and did a new parking lot. So it's just kind of odd how things never materialize. And I know I'll probably get attacked on this. Come after me and do whatever. But at the end of the day, our company takes pride. I appreciate council for vetting and talking to residents and going through all these committee meetings. But I think the time has come to vote. It's the 4th meeting. We've only gone downward. I would appreciate a vote tonight. And if there's any other questions for me, I would gladly answer them.
I have one, Bill.
Yes.
Do we have a concept drawing of this proposed property with drives, alleys, streets, all of that?
There's no new streets that will be done. Sorry. All back there? You saw the concept of the buildings last meeting.
Yeah, but that was like a Google Earth image with boxes. I mean, we asked.
No, that was mine. I gave, he put actual blueprints up there. That was on the screen.
That was for 3
can I say something here, Bill, just to, I know.
Yeah, but there's no new streets. There's no civil engineering going in. They're creating the drive that goes into it.
Yeah, but I thought we were
Drive that
gonna
comes
get
back
a
out.
diagram of this. Because I'm not wanting to move forward until I get a diagram of the outlook, the
And I
plan.
appreciate it, but it's already passed out of committee.
Can I say something, Cam, though, just to kind of clarify things here? You know, we keep, it's been referred to as a big commercial project. It's 2 homes is what we're looking at building here. And there's all kinds of codes and processes that they have to go through with Aaron. Aaron will be the one that makes sure that when they lay out the houses on the lots, that they meet the setback requirements, that they meet all the details of the planning department. It's really no different than someone else building a home. You know, when I got ready to build my garage onto my house, I basically had to have a layout. I took it down there, they look at it, they said, well, your driveway has to be this far from the property of your neighbors, things. So I think there's this misconception that he's just going to randomly go in there and throw a house up. He's going to still have to bring his designs to Aaron. Their department will approve them. They'll go over to Rob and the building commissioners. Is that the correct step then, Aaron? They go over to Rob. He checks to make sure that everything's within our codes. So it's not like he's going to go in there and throw up 2 homes. They're going to all be according to the codes that have been established in the city. And
I don't think that was the main concern was the houses. I think it was the congestion of the traffic through one street coming in and out. That was the main purpose.
well, and I think we address that with the volume. I mean, we're not talking about a huge volume of traffic here. We're talking about the normal bus that brings them in and out.
There will be
And
traffic
a couple
during-
employees.
During construction, there will be, and that's something
Staff
that,
coming in, staff coming in to work, visitors for the
I think
residents.
construction's the only, going to be the only negative impact for the traffic, and that would
True.
be, I said I think. And
You
so,
think? So
right,
you don't know.
well, they have driveways, it's not going to affect
I'm
the
talking
parking.
18th Street.
They have
Everything
driveways,
now.
it's not going to affect their parking.
Why did you change that plan when we had one-way
Peak
streets?
is going to have driveways. Peak is
Yeah.
building driveways in their houses and garages so that the buses will fit in their garages.
And I would just, one last thing I would just say here, and I'm going to stop, but I think, Bob, you have genuine concerns, and I think if you were to get with Chris as they start construction, I'm sure his people are going to be well aware of the concerns of getting in and out of there also, and with Shepler Construction being a local company and I believe very conscientious, they're going to do their best to coordinate their efforts with the neighborhood and make things as burdenless as they can till the project's completed.
Scott, I'm sorry,
Am
yeah.
I allowed to ask another question?
Yes, we get Scott. Scott's been trying to ask the question for a couple minutes.
Let me ask you, I met with Chris, and we discussed one-way north on 18th Street, one-way west on Miles Street, and a possible entrance exit going the alley heading out to High Street by 19th. And you came into the April 28th meeting and said, no, nothing's going to be changed. It's going to be the original plan of 3 houses, 3 duplexes, and a group them. Why did you change that?
I didn't change anything. I recommended they not come out 19th Street because it's 15 foot wide.
Yeah, I said possible entrance exit.
Yeah, that's the only one, that's my only definite thing. I didn't think it was a good idea at all. The other, honestly, Pete doesn't care. That's completely a City of Logansport, Ed Hassett decision, Board of Works. He doesn't, whatever would be best for the neighborhood, whether it be one-way, two-way, Mayo Street, I think the least obstructionist way would be the driveway into his place and driveway out. He testified that they don't get traffic.
That's 2 blocks over. That's totally different than 18th Street.
It's 30 feet wide, which is a pretty good-sized street.
Can we ask a professional? Chad, you want to give us your opinion, please? Of one-way streets to ease congestion. Can you come up to the table, please?
That was a reluctant, sure. Well, there's plenty of room up there.
I think I'd prefer to know what the residents down there want, whether they want one-way or two-way.
This is an idea.
I honestly don't.
We tabled this for a better plan, and You know, this is something, I don't know. What do you
I don't
think,
think
Chad,
it's
about
better
making?
scaling back from 4 houses to 2 and not giving them the park lots so that there can still be a park. I mean, I understand that it has changed every meeting, but don't you think it's changed better each meeting for the residents?
The fact that it's changed, I think we should be letting the public know, because Bob Arnold said he hardly knew about this one.
No, he said he hardly knew about the first one.
Okay.
They didn't know about these changes,
not
but these
they're
changes
not
are even
informed.
better than the previous changes.
They're
So
not informed.
Okay, but like I said, these changes, it's for the better, not the worse, if the changes
Still
are
a
happening.
change, though. A change that's unannounced, it was announced Friday. What do you think about one-way streets on 18th and Miles, Chad? Would that ease congestion,
Well,
in your opinion, as a street department superintendent?
this is my 13th year at the street department, and driving down there in a truck and trailer, I've always treated the 18th as a one-way from High Street, 2 miles, and over to 17th. I'd say less than 5 times I've come the other way, and it's always congested, and the visibility is worse. So that's why I always treat it as a one-way anyways.
Okay.
And then when you're heading towards the river on 18th, you turn to Miles, you know how you've got that 90-degree turn in there by your property.
All too well.
It's blind. So if you're in there with the truck and trailer, you meet somebody at the corner, you've got to back up, one of you. And so it just naturally seems like it would be good to take 18th, turn, make it one way through Miles to 17th, and from 17th you can go either direction you want. But I would still leave it two-way from Miles to the river, which is only like half a block.
Okay, yeah, okay.
You figure 18th Street's already one way all the way from Jefferson to High Street.
Yes.
You're basically only making it one way, half a block more. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Chad, appreciate it.
I don't care. You can, he's the expert, so you can make it 3-way for all I care. The confusing part is if it's always been congested, why hasn't anything been suggested to this point? Because peak hasn't created any problem to this point, or opportunity. It's been, that could have been things that were done up to now.
To the project, but I just think that we should have a concept plan, something drawn out. And
I recommended them not
ago.
to, personally, because what if you say no? Then they've gone out and spent 20, 25, 30 grand on engineer studies, and you say no, now they've got this plan for 18th Street that they don't even own. So I've told them, I don't see the purpose. If you look at Treen Street, group home, it's less than like 2,900 square feet. We have homes that are bigger than this. And it's the best thing in the neighborhood. Best landscaping, best construction. I look at it as we have our 5th largest employer in town. We have our #1 construction home builder in town. They're not going to do things that are going to get the community up in a roar.
And I just don't think it's that hard to visualize.
I see your, I would love to have a plan.
I think it should be drawn out. I don't care if you don't spend the money for a design plan, just draw something out.
I don't think that's. I think it's easy to visualize it. We've talked about it plenty.
But it was asked 2 meetings ago
Yeah.
for a plan.
So the screen that we had at committee meeting, was it?
On up to the table, Chris, please.
I don't know if they want to revisit this or not. Chris Neighbors, Peak Community Services CEO. I don't know if they want to revisit this, but we had on the screen the 6 lots that was laid out, and it looks like this right here. That is to scale. These lots were overlaid with 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. And if you put that back on there, you can actually see where we could slide it up or down according to what Aaron tells us that we need to do for setbacks. So you kind of do have had a visual, Cameron, I can't remember if you were at the committee meeting or not.
Can you give him is that a copy that you have maybe?
That was on the screen.
This was on the.
Right.
Well, see, but that's one thing, we don't all get the information. I didn't get that. We don't always get emails.
It was on the screen at one of our meetings.
It was never emailed to us, anybody.
See, it should have been.
Again, that was talked on Thursday, we had a meeting Monday, so you had one day to get that plan up on the board.
Yeah, it was on the screen at the committee meeting.
Yes.
That's the exact same thing, yes.
We were pressed for time at that point.
So that's at 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So you can see clearly how much room you actually have on that. If that helps.
A little bit. I guess I'm more concerned about drives and stuff, just because of the congestion of the area. Just making sure that's all.
Isn't it on that picture that you
Yeah,
put up there? It shows where the driveways are and how the cars will be parked.
Talking on 18th Street, Dave.
Pardon?
He's talking on 18th Street.
He's not gonna have any vehicles on 18th Street.
Congestion.
So if,
That's the point, I guess. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, since I'm sitting up here, do you mind if I continue, or do you?
No.
Oh, you have
So, first of all, I want to thank the council. I want to thank Aaron. I want to thank Chad. I want to thank the residents that are here that are concerned about the issue here. I think everybody has really tried to work together and come up with a great solution for the property. What we're going to have now is one group home and one duplex. One group home will have one bus, and that house there will have 2 to 3 staff. So you're talking 3 at the most. On the other side, we'll have 1 bus and 2 staff. So you're talking 5 personal-owned vehicles at one time ever on the property, and it'll all be on those lots. There's no need for them to be on any kind of street. They will pass this way. I would defer to an expert as far as however the design of the traffic flow would be. We're open to that. If my staff are leaving, I'm going to probably have them go down Miles and hang left on 17th and get out that way. That's what I would suggest, or I'm going to mandate my staff to do. They're going to come in on 18, take a right, get off the property, and you're not even going to see them. The buses stay on the property during the daytime, and they only transport back and forth. Some of the concerns as far as visitors. I can't say that we'll never have visitors. Susie, you see 18th Street, you see who's there. And the sad part of it, is a lot of the folks don't have visitors. I wish they did. I wish we really had that problem, because I think that everybody wants to have their guests over. We do have some that come, but really there's not that many that come. As far as traffic flow, there's very little traffic that we're going to add to that. Yes, the construction will be, but we'll mitigate that. Shepherd Construction is one of the best contractors that I've seen in my 35-year career. I solely trust them. They do an excellent job. They're going to minimize any type of problems coming in and out of there. They're not going to put big trucks on the road. They're going to come there and get on our property and leave that alone as most as they can. And honestly, it's during the daytime. So most of the folks are going to be at work, thankfully. And then if I could address one more quick point. This here is one house, group home. You have to visualize this as a single residential facility. It's not commercial. It is a one home. And we have to look at it that way because Indiana code requires us to do that legally. So yes, it's on 3 lots, and then we have a duplex. We're building 2 homes. If you were buying this from the city, how would you do this? We're going to do it no differently. We're building a house there. We're going to look at the trees that need to come down in the footprint there and leave as many as we can. And yes, to answer a couple questions back here, we are going to put a privacy fence up because I think that is an extra precaution that we do as an agency. However, we're not mandated or required by law, and I will just read this real quick. Indiana Code 12-28-4-8 basically zoning ordinances for residential facilities such as ours. And I'm saying this not for the council's sake, but Mr. Wilhelm brings this up, and last time we talked was about a PUD, and every time we come in here, he talks about something differently. So I wanted to kind of go on record, so how we have to legally look at a group home. It cannot be more than 8 people with intellectual development disabilities. It is permitted for residential use, just like your home, your individual home, and may not be disallowed by any zoning ordinance in any zoning district or classified that permits residential use. So if there's a residential use there, the group home falls under that legally. It can't be viewed as a commercial property. It is a single residential home, no different than anybody else that lives in town. The duplex, obviously, is a multifamily, and that doesn't fall under that Indiana code. But I did want to point that out because we do not need, PUD district is not in a PUD district, from my knowledge, and even if it is, it doesn't apply. Zoning ordinance 36-7-1-22, zoning ordinance refers to an ordinance under this is not applicable, or a PUD ordinance. All zoning incorporated by reference in the ordinance is not applicable. This is Indiana code. And I bring that to the council just so we had some discussion at the committee meeting, and there's a lot of things that was brought up that shouldn't have been. So anyways, I wanted to add that information just so everybody knows what we're doing, how we're doing it, and then entertain any questions that the council may have.
I would just ask, is there anyone out, any of the residents have a question for Chris?
I just wonder, after this goes on, in the future, are you planning to expand in that area?
No, we will not do that. On these 6 properties that we're voting on this evening, if they vote, and I'm going to ask the council to please do that, there's going to be 2 homes on there. There's going to be a group home, which is a single-family home, and then there's going to be a duplex
And that is all
in the
you're saying?
future, and that's not probably going to happen for years, 2 years. I can't make promises. We're working on the Tipton property first. The group home will take place first, single-family home. So, yes, and I did want to, lost my thought. I think that we get the group home put in there, and then the duplex comes later. I don't know, I can't speak to what we're going to do with the other lots down there because they're zoned differently.
Okay, so you won't be owning those other lots, or those?
Correct. I forget the number of lots now, the Sixers.
9 through 14.
The ones that go along the river.
The ones along the river are zoned open space, and there are some restrictions on 4 of them.
I read that, yeah.
I think it'd be best interest if the city should try to get those restrictions so they're non-contiguous. It only makes sense for anything in the future not to have this separated lot situation going on. But it is zoned open space, so nobody could do anything without going through the whole zoning process, and then you have the deed restrictions. So with all of that, no, the lots on the river are not at play.
So obviously this evening, if the council would vote for this idea, some of this stuff could be worked out after. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to run the permits through like we normally would. If Chad wants to bring forward a proposal based upon what the folks that live there want to do as far as one way or not one way, we're open to that. Peak Community Services wants to partner with the city of Logansport. We want to partner with the residents that actually live there, not folks that just come around just to create issues and problems. That's a waste of everybody's time. The residents that actually live there, I would more than welcome talk to them and try to work out any idea, anything that we could do to help with that situation, we'd be open to that. But we can't do anything until we're able to work on this.
I would hope that as construction's happening, if the neighbors have concerns, they could obviously come to you to try to
Absolutely, they can.
fix a problem.
I actually have given numbers out to some of the folks that showed up in earlier meetings and said, hey, if you have any problems and concerns, here's my direct line, call me directly, and obviously the contractor we would be working with directly, and we would let them know their concerns. And I've never addressed one concern with Shepler Construction that he or they have never not come through with a solution. I highly recommend them, and any problem they're having, they care about the city of Logansport. They care about the city. They care about the people that live here.
The residents don't have the current design.
Ma'am, you've already spoken a couple of times.
Well, she had a question, I mean.
They asked for questions for Dave.
Yeah. Go right ahead.
If you don't
Phil.
have the current design, is there any way the residents can have the current?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll show you.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it.
You know, and we're not building something that's junky. I mean, we're building, the group home itself will be,
For a good visual, Treen Street, what does it look like compared to what you're putting here?
Oh.
Is it very similar?
very similar, but it's going to be actually nicer.
So 17, was it 1713, or, we'll get the exact address. If you want to like go visibly look at one, they're very well done.
Yeah, the one on Treen Street is right on the corner of Treen and Jackson.
And the duplex, if you go on 17th, Tipton properties, you see those, it looks just exactly like one of those. That's a duplex.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need a motion to table this, right? Is that where we're at on this first version?
Resolution 2025-119.
I would suggest
We're
we
voting
just,
no on that then.
yeah, I would suggest we just vote this one down and consider the second proposal.
Right. Okay.
Any further discussion? Call for question. Scott Peavy.
No.
Susie Wamsley.
No.
BJ Cox. Chris Howard.
No.
Dave Morris.
No.
Haley Zinsmaster.
No.
Cameron Austin. No. Resolution 2025-119 fails. On to new business, ordinance 2025-15, Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
Ordinance 2025-15, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending the Logansport zoning ordinance to include mobile vendors. And I would ask for a vote on ordinance 2025-15 on its first reading.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I might ask, I think, didn't you put something out that if anyone had questions about this, they could come to the meeting here? Well, that's why I was asking.
I did send a letter out to all the food vendors we had on the health department list and gave them the ordinance.
Is there anyone here that wanted to speak on the mobile vendors?
About the food trucks.
Okay.
And if you have any questions or concerns, we're happy to hear them.
Call for question. Dave Morris.
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Susie Wamsley.
Yes.
Scott Peavy.
Yes.
BJ Cox. Chris Howard.
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Ordinance 2025-15 passes on its first reading. Resolution 2025-123, Councilman Howard.
Resolution 2025-123, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana regarding tax abatement for personal property investment for Meyer Spring Company Incorporated. Ask for a vote on Resolution 2025-123.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Anyone have any questions for Bill about this abatement?
Nope.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
BJ Cox.
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Scott Peavy.
Yes.
Chris Howard.
Yes.
Susie Wamsley.
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-123 passes. Resolution 2025-124, Councilman Austin.
2025-124, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, to approve and enter into a land acquisition agreement with the Logansport Redevelopment Commission. Mr. Mayor, ask for a vote on resolution 2025-124.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question. Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes?
Scott Petey,
Yes.
BJ Cox, Chris Howard.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-124 passes. Resolution 2025-125, Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
Resolution 2025-125, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the City of Logansport Capital Improvement Program 2026 through 2029. And I would ask for a vote on Resolution 2025-125.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Cameron Austin, Susie Wamsley.
Yes.
Resolution 2025-125 passes. Resolution 2025-126, Councilman Morris.
Resolution 2025-126, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, transferring 2025 budgeted appropriations from within the infrastructure fund. Mayor, I'd ask for a vote on Resolution 2025-126.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd just like to add, I think we have more important things to spend money on versus planting trees on the boulevard, our streets, our sidewalks. I can't see spending $5,000 to plant trees down the boulevard when you just paid money to have the dead ones cut down.
Any other discussion?
We went down on the boulevard this past week, Dave and I, and we cut quite a few of the trees out. Spread them out further and, say we need this one here, but we don't need that many here, and trying just to make it look a lot better, and some other stuff hopefully in the window look at better.
I just don't see the need right now to spend money on trees. I mean, Scott mentioned possibly Arbor Day project, maybe Live United project. I just see other issues within the city than spending money on trees.
I don't know, I'd have to ask Aaron about that. Don't we have, I assumed we have, like on public property, which I guess that is ours, the Parks Department, does do the mowing there. We have to plant certain size trees. You can't plant, like Arbor Day tree, you get an Arbor Day tree, or your kids bring one home from school. It has to be something of substantial size, I believe. One of the hopes we can do with this project, and we talked about it before, but I didn't want to let it sit too long, and that's the reason we're going this route is, we had talked about making that an area where people could memorialize a family member or something that's dear to them by being a volunteer to purchase one of the trees. I'm not saying we have, and I don't have the time to quite honestly pursue it at this point, but that would be a possibility if we wanted to try to do something along the boulevard. Maybe we need to coordinate with funeral homes, because I know they're always saying we can plant a tree, click here. You go on our website, it says click here, you can plant a tree, make a donation to plant a tree for, I don't know where they plant these trees, honestly. But that's been an idea that we've kicked around. But, I think the intent when we took the trees down was to replace the trees. I respect your concerns for how we spend money, but I think that was kind of an assumption when we took these trees down that we would replace them, and the idea was to do it over several years rather than all at one time.
And this is phase 1, so hope maybe in phase 2 we could do the memorial trees and to release the burden off of the city. But I do agree with phase 1, we do need to replace what we took down.
I was just gonna say that in our ordinance, we do have a typical height for street trees. But I know just working with Spring Creek on some of the landscaping downtown, it's hard to get certain trees without being burlap now. So they're larger trees, so that's just how different nurseries are selling trees now. So they're a little larger, so they're more costly.
Is
Just that way.
the boulevard, the Parks Department's I know they mow it, but
Well,
who
it's
does
a-
it exactly belong to? I believe
It's
that
a right of way, so it's regulated by the Board of Works, really.
Yeah.
So doesn't
Parks
LMU own
does
that?
Huh?
Doesn't LMU own the grass in there?
No.
No?
No. At least I don't think they do.
See what it looks like since they took down the trees?
Yeah.
And so you don't think that we should spend?
I don't see the need
$5,000
right now. The streets are terrible, sidewalks, infrastructure needs more attention than some trees,
But you can't do very much for infrastructure for $5,000.
but it all adds up.
You're right about that.
Come on up.
It is just a right of way, so it's not owned by
Susan Spencer, 2523 East Broadway. I think the council remembers that this kind of started with me coming to the mayor first and then working with Dave on getting those trees taken down. The first phase is completed, and not only was it not aesthetically pleasing, but those trees were dangerous. Somebody could potentially get hurt. But in the process, this first phase, my concerns are it was my understanding that when all this was approved, that money was included in that to replace the trees, to put in new trees. That was my understanding, so
Had some money.
that's how I operated in working with you.
So we had the money, we had some money appropriate, and then we did some work to help prepare the farmer's market lot. We did spent some money down there, so consequently, we're just transferring some money within that fund to replace the money we spent that we hadn't expected to in getting the farmer's market lot ready for their project.
And I appreciate that, but I'm also holding you to your commitment to do the right thing with the boulevard and make it a beautiful site. Right now, what wasn't considered was planting grass after the trees were removed and the stumps were removed. Now we have a pile of weeds growing. I don't know who's supposed to be mowing it, but it's...
Parks Department's been mowing it.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're doing a very good job, plus whoever's supposed to be picking up branches is not doing a very good job. So I'm just concerned that what the council committed to do won't get done.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that was the promise that I heard.
hopefully it will.
Yeah, but you know how things go.
Chad, can you take note that she has a complaint about the way that the boulevard is being mowed and that this...
Not him.
It's not you?
He's not
Our Parks Department mows.
Oh, shoot. Jan's not, you know what? I'll talk to Jan about that.
Well, that's the
Well,
problem, used to be.
Just take note anyway, Chad.
Dave told me the street department was...
You're good at it.
Branches.
Chad, the reason I said that, you were up there cutting a tree down recently.
Yes, it fell from someone's property.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't.
Clearing the street.
Well, you can pick up some sticks.
So my question is, I don't know who's being called to replace the trees. I kind of thought it was Spring Creek.
We've got Ryan Passion lined up. He's going to meet a couple of us up there Wednesday.
Okay, oh, good, okay.
Yep.
Okay, because I did talk to him and he hadn't heard anything, so
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what
I
was.
talked to him last week after we went up there and kind of
Got it.
Just please get it done. Don't let me down. Let's bring it back to
See,
what it
here's the
was.
problem we have, if we do all this stuff, people have parties up there and they park right in the middle of the media. they
And
chop
that's a
the grass
problem
up.
too, yep. I have ideas for that, but they cost money. More money than what we're spending on the trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. All right. Oh, okay, there you go.
Just to make the meeting a little longer.
Hey.
Susan Gerald, 735 Walnut Ridge West. Just so you know, we have a memorial tree on the boulevard. It's one of the last trees in the row, and it's in memoriam of my father. So I suggested that the Parks Department ran the tree fund the last time, or wasn't a tree fund, but you could have a memorial tree. So you could pay for a tree, and there was a small plaque at the base of the tree And I already know 3 separate people who would like to place a memorial tree, and that was just talking to people. So, you know, it's a good idea, and it would help pay for the trees.
So you say that the parks actually had a program at one time set up?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you know who did that? Who at the Parks
I don't think-
Department?
I don't know who it was.
They're not there
It
now.
was probably 18 years ago.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So we picked out the type of tree. They had several types you could choose from. And we picked out a certain type, and they planted it, and it's a big, strong tree right now. One that's not being cut down.
It's actually an oak tree.
It's a bur oak.
Yep.
Yep. So,
Okay.
just a
Thank you,
suggestion.
Susan.
All right, any other discussion? All right, call for question.
Cameron Austin? No. Susie Wamsley?
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster?
Yes.
Dave Morris?
Yes.
BJ Cox?
Yes.
Scott Petey?
Yes.
Chris Howard?
Yes.
Resolution 2025-126 passes. Resolution 2025-127, Councilman Cox.
Resolution 2025-127, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, transferring appropriations for the pool department. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2025-127.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris?
Yes.
Susie Wamsley?
Yes.
Cameron Austin?
Yes.
Scott Petey?
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster?
Yes.
BJ Cox?
Yes.
Chris Howard?
Yes.
Resolution 2025-127 passes. Resolution 2025-128, Councilman Petey.
Resolution 2025-128, resolution of the Common Council of City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the transfer of land owned by the Parks and Recreation Department and deemed surplus in 2021, also known as Dunwoody Park, to the City of Logansport and its Redevelopment Commission for Development of Housing for Peak Community Services. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2025-128, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris?
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster?
Yes.
BJ Cox?
Yes.
Susie Wamsley?
Yes.
Scott Petey?
No.
Chris Howard?
No.
Cameron Austin?
No.
Resolution 2025-128 passes 4-3. Resolution 2025-129, Councilwoman Wamsley.
Resolution 2025-129, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing the appropriation of restricted opioid settlement funding for the Youth Services Alliance. I ask for a vote on Resolution 2025-129.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
BJ Cox?
Yes.
Chris Howard?
Yes.
Cameron Austin?
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster?
Yes.
Scott Petey?
Yes.
Susie Wamsley?
Yes.
Dave Morris?
Yes.
Resolution 2025-129 passes. Any public comments? Anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for us. All right, seeing none, any council member comments?
I have a comment. I just want to say I do support Peak, but I am standing with my constituents who I work for. They want to see it left as it is. Thank you.
Any other council member comments?
Have a couple here. Well, just did Jacob leave? Oh, well, I won't ask Jacob a question, and I had a question for Jacob. I just want, a couple things I did want to mention. I was part, and the mayor was part of the multicultural festival up at the high school this past weekend. You know, I go to a lot of meetings and I listen to Michelle Starkey talk about the diversity in our schools. I listened to Mike McCord, and they'll say, well, we represent, I don't know how many countries it actually is. It's around 30, I think. And the different children in our schools speak. And until you go up there and see the multicultural festival and see all the kids, they set up booths for their countries that they came from. It's really kind of, it's kind of inspiring to think that families have traveled like they have to come to the U.S. and end up in a city like Logansport. And from what I see, and I'm sure the school has its problems, but all those kids seem to get along too. And it was a pretty cool, I intended to stay there long enough to do my part and leave, and I spent 2 hours up there walking around. They had food samples from different countries, and it was really pretty cool. So I think this was the 4th annual one. It's the first time I'd ever been to one. If you get the opportunity next year, you really ought to go up there and check it out, because they ran programming for like 4 hours in the different countries to go out there, and the kids from those countries would perform some type of tradition that they had or do something. It was pretty neat. So just a kudos to the school and the kids. The kids put it all together. So it was just impressive. And it just makes me realize when I listen to some of the rhetoric about what's wrong with Logansport, how wrong the people that say that are. So.
Thanks, Dave. Any other council member comments? Last call. All right. Miscellaneous business and any matters not already considered, including ADA Section 504 compliance or concerns. All right. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move. Second.
Call for question. BJ Cox.
Yes.
Chris Howard.
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Scott Peedy.
Yes.
Susie Lomsley.
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Have a great night.